Okay, so imagine this. You leave your house and you don't lock the door. But it's not because you live in a, rough neighborhood or you're just careless. It's because the entire village, everyone around you, just operates on this unwavering faith.
It's wild, right?
Yeah, it kind of flips the script on what we think of when we hear the word security. It really makes you think about how much of our own sense of safety comes from physical things versus something more intangible.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. The story of Shani Shingnapur, a village in India where for centuries they've had this tradition of no doors. Like, seriously, no doors on houses, shops, even the bank initially. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It really is. And to unpack all of this, we've got a bunch of different sources to dive into, historical accounts, firsthand accounts, and more recent reports. And hopefully we can kind of piece together just how this tradition has survived for so long and what it tells us about faith, community, and maybe even human nature itself.
I'm into it. So first things first, where exactly are we talking about? We're heading to India. Specifically the state of Maharashtra Ahmednagar district, to be precise. Shani Shingnapur is a small village about 35 kilometers from Ahmednagar and roughly 160 kilometers northeast of Pune.
Gotcha. And this whole no-door thing is tied to their belief in Lord Shani, right?
Exactly. Lord Shani, or Shanidev, is a pretty major figure in Hinduism. He's the god of justice, karma, what goes around comes around type of stuff. And he's also associated with the planet Saturn.
Okay, so they believe that Lord Shani is protecting them.
That's the core belief. Yeah. The entire village operates on this unshakable faith that Lord Shani safeguards them from harm, especially from things like theft and dishonesty. It's like their entire social contract is built around this idea.
And how do they represent Lord Shani? Is there like a big temple or something?
Actually, it's pretty unique. They have this black stone slab called a swayambhu, which means it's believed to be a self-emerged form of the deity, not an idol that someone carved, but a naturally occurring manifestation of Lord Shani.
Wow, so it's not even inside a temple?
Nope. It's just out in the open, on a platform. No walls, no roof, nothing blocking it. That's a pretty powerful visual representation of their complete trust in his protection.
No kidding. So this open-air deity, no temple walls. That's got to be connected to the no-door tradition, right?
Oh, absolutely. It all ties together. You see, because they believe Lord Shani is always watching, always present. That's why they feel no need for doors or locks. They believe that any attempt at theft will be instantly punished by him.
And we're talking like no doors anywhere.
Right. You got houses, shops, schools, even public restrooms, nothing. There might be a curtain or a symbolic wooden frame just to mark the entrance, but no actual security measures as we'd understand them.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that level of trust. But I guess that's the power of faith, right?
Right. And it's not just during the day either. This tradition is 1047. People leave their homes unattended travel for extended periods. And they don't worry about locking up because they truly believe that Lord Shani is their ultimate security system.
So how has this belief been maintained over centuries? Like, do they have stories or something that reinforces their faith?
Totally. They have all these anecdotal accounts passed down through generations, stories of would-be thieves getting caught in bizarre ways, or suffering accidents or misfortunes right after attempting to steal. It's like their own folklore that keeps the belief alive and strong.
So it's not just about blind faith.
Yeah.
There are these narratives that kind of prove their point, at least in their eyes.
Exactly. And it's not just about punishment either. If something does get stolen, there's a strong emphasis on making amends. The thief is expected to return the goods and then go through this purification ritual to be welcomed back into the community. It's a fascinating blend of faith, social responsibility, and even a bit of psychology, I'd say.
Makes sense. It's like their own self-governing system. But what happens when the outside world collides with this tradition? Like, had there been any clashes?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The story of the UCO Bank opening a branch there in 2011 is a perfect example. Initially, they actually tried to honor the tradition by not having locks on their doors. Can you imagine that, a bank with no security measures?
It's almost unbelievable. But I bet that didn't last long.
You're right. The Reserve Bank of India, which regulates all banking operations, stepped in. They've got their own security protocols to uphold. So in the end, the UCO Bank had to install doors and CCTV cameras, but as a compromise, they keep the doors open during business hours. It's this funny dance between tradition and modernity.
I guess you can't completely escape the modern world, even in a place like Shani Shingnapur.
Yeah.
So where did this whole no-door thing even start?
Well, that's where the folklore comes in. It goes back about 300 to 400 years. The story goes that after a big flood, this massive black stone slab washed up on the riverbank. And a shepherd just happened to touch it with his stick.
And something crazy happened, right?
Legend has it that the stone started bleeding right there on the spot. That night, Lord Shani appeared to the shepherd in a dream and said, "Hey, that stone, that's me, that's my form," and he promised to protect the village. But he laid down 2 conditions.
Interesting. What were they?
First, he wanted to be worshipped out in the open, no stuffy temples for this god, and second, no fear. He wanted the villagers to trust in his protection completely. No need for doors, no need for locks. That's how the no-door tradition was born.
Wow. So that one event, this divine dream, is what set everything in motion. And it's held strong for centuries. It's mind-blowing.
It is, and Shani Shingnapur has become more than just a village. It's a major pilgrimage site for devotees of Lord Shani, especially on Saturdays.
So people travel from all over to experience this place.
Absolutely, especially for the festival of Shani Amabasya, which is the new moon day dedicated to Lord Shani. Millions of people show up. It's a huge deal.
Wow. And what do they do when they visit?
They offer traditional things, mustard oil, black clothes, flowers,
Oh.
all considered to be auspicious for Lord Shani. It's a really vibrant expression of their faith.
Yeah, it sounds like a really unique and powerful community. But let's be real. Have there been any instances of theft despite all this?
Well, while historically theft was almost unheard of in Shani Shingnapur, there have been some reports of minor thefts in recent years. Nothing major, but still it raises some questions.
So their perfect record might be cracking a bit. What are some possible explanations for that?
Well, some people point to the influx of outsiders, people who don't share the same beliefs and might be more likely to try their luck. Others suggest it's just a sign of the times, societal shifts that even a place like Shani Shingnapur can't completely avoid.
That's fair. I mean, no community can exist in a bubble. And let's not forget the skeptics, right? There are always people who will say that it's not just divine intervention keeping crime down.
Yes, some argue it's more about social pressure. In a tight-knit community like that, the fear of being ostracized can be a powerful deterrent. Plus, there's always the possibility that some incidents might go unreported to preserve the village's reputation.
So it might not be as black and white as it seems. And speaking of outside influences, tourism has got to be having some impact too, right?
Oh, for sure. With more and more visitors coming in, you've got all the challenges that come with that. Commercialization disputes over temple management, even just the strain on the local infrastructure. It's a reminder that tradition doesn't always mesh smoothly with modernity.
It's like a constant push and pull. But even with those challenges, you got to admit there's something deeply fascinating about Shani Shingnapur. It makes you question so many things.
Absolutely. It's more than just a quirky story about a village without doors. It's a completely different way of thinking about trust, faith, and social order. It throws out all our assumptions about what keeps a community safe.
Totally. It challenges our reliance on physical security measures, walls, fences, alarms. And it makes you wonder if a similar kind of shared belief, even if it's not as literal as having no doors, could work in other contexts.
It's a huge question, right? I mean, Shani Shingnapur is essentially built on this idea of fear of God over fear of law. Their faith in Lord Shani's justice is their main deterrent to crime, which is so different from how most societies function.
It's a different set of rules, a different social contract. It really makes you think about how we define security as individuals and as a society.
For sure. And as we wrap up our deep dive into this incredible story, I think the big takeaway is just how powerful collective belief can be. It shapes their lives, their traditions, even their sense of safety. Shani Shingnapur is like a living, breathing example of that.
Absolutely. It's proof that faith can create a reality that defies logic and expectation.
Yeah.
At least from an outsider's perspective.
And it leaves us with a question to ponder. How much of our own security comes from those tangible things, locks and alarms versus the intangible things like trust and shared values? Could we even imagine a world where faith plays a bigger role in keeping us safe? Or is Shani Shingnapur just a unique and isolated case?
That's a question I don't have the answer to. But it's certainly something to think about as we navigate this increasingly complex world. We rely so much on physical security measures.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something to be said for the power of faith and community to shape a different kind of reality. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Shani Shingnapur. It's been an eye-opening journey for sure.
He said it. It really challenges our preconceived notions and makes us think about how we approach security in our own lives.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe there's a little bit of Shani Shingnapur in all of us. That desire for a world where trust and shared values play a more central role.
Well, that's something for our listeners to ponder on their own. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those doors metaphorically or literally open to new possibilities.
And to those out there living the Shani Shingnapur life, stay safe and keep the faith.
You got it.